Honorable Nomvalo and Honorable Shongwe, your time, both of you, ends at 2:30.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon, Minister. Good afternoon, Minister.
No.
Yeah, I don't know if I heard you correctly, but you were responding to one member here. You said you were worried when General Mkhwanazi was wearing a task force uniform on the 6th of July. Why were you worried?
Yeah, I'm quite comfortable with your uniform. Look, we should have a serious conversation about this matter. You know, democracies are about civilian government, about leadership by elected representatives. In a democratic society, the power to use force is conditionally allocated to a professional policing service that is required to exercise that force, because you and I can't do that, right? Police service has the right to exercise force to enforce the law with all necessary force, provided it's exercised in a lawful way. There are reasons why we have protocols within a police service, a command structure, supposed to be a disciplined organization. The line of command, the structure of authority in a police service has to be respected, because that is a sine qua non of its ability to function efficiently as a law enforcement agency. That's my first argument. The second is that in a democracy, it's important for a clear separation between political authority and the military, for instance. The military has to understand that they exercise their powers, their incredible powers, subject to the parameters of a civilian state. And that is true also of the law enforcement, the police. Now, when I saw that image, and of course what was being said, and it wasn't just the military fatigues, but the fact that they were armed and so forth, my initial impression was, what's going on? I mean, is this South Africa? It conjured up images in my mind of a kind of coup d'etat. Now, that's it. So I said, because, you know, I have to be honest about these matters, that was my initial response in my head, and I said so publicly. But I also said that the issues that he raised were extremely important, and that if it turns out that he raised those matters outside of the normal structure of command and discipline in the police service, and without engaging his political principles, if he made those statements, if it turns out to have been correct, and the evidence so far before the Madlanga Commission, not only by the general himself, but also particularly by those three witnesses which apparently corroborated what he said, then I would say that there is already there is compelling evidence in the public domain which suggests that he was behaving as a whistleblower who should then be protected by the law. Okay? Yeah. And in an exceptional situation, in the kind of situation that we are in, conduct outside of the norms, which are themselves constraining access to the truth, may be justified. And I stand by that. And I hope, I'm sure that the Commission will come to conclusions which will clarify that matter. But I think even General Mkhwanazi, and I had a very respectful and pleasant engagement with him in the meeting that I had with him. And I said to him, it was an honor for me to meet you. You can ask him that. It's an honor to meet you, because it might well be the case that he has displayed some extraordinary courage, which is what was required in this moment. But it can't itself be a norm in a democracy and in a police service in a democracy. So that's my view. I said it at the time, and I attracted some controversy and some criticism. And I knew that if I repeat that today, the question will be asked. But I think that nothing has happened which requires me, in my view, to change the opinion I expressed, which was not one-sided. I was trying to deal with an issue. I think it's a live issue, and I was trying to deal with it in a way that I think is consistent with what this country is and what it's trying to achieve.
Okay. No. Thank you, Minister.
Can we take Honorable Skosana?
Thank you, Chair. Just to say to the Minister, Prof, I understand. I just want clarity on this matter. You know, when you say what you have now, if there was no commission, Madlanga Commission, hence you always say, as ad hoc committee, we are not a subcommittee of Madlanga Commission. And I think what we are saying now is that if there was no Madlanga Commission, your views would have been different. Can you clarify that?
No, what I'm saying, and this is why, I've also been on record from the very beginning to say that I think the President made the right decision when he appointed the Commission. You will recall that that decision, at least as an initial matter, attracted a lot of criticism. But what do we see happening? The country is watching the Madlanga Commission, and it's watching you. This is how democracies deal with their problems. I'm not only talking about the Madlanga Commission. I'm also talking about what's happening here, the enormous significance of what is happening in Parliament. If I might digress for a minute, when I was in the Gauteng legislature, and I was the speaker, and those were early days, we're trying to build an institution. It was one of my pet projects to try and develop the capacity in the legislature for inquiries, the kind of inquiry that you're conducting today. Because I did feel that oversight should not be limited to oversight over departments. Parliament should have the ability to do what you are doing. And I think the public is rightly invested, in this process, Madlanga and yourself, because it is going to tell us the truth and it's going to help us with the reset. It's not only, it shouldn't be seen, in my view, as a negative process. Now, the fact that the President made his decisions and appointed the Commission, and at the same time, Parliament took this initiative, has been serendipitous because it has meant that the issues that General Mkhwanazi raised and the issues that were raised by his decision to have an interview, to do what he did, all of those matters are now subjected to a proper inquiry. Without your inquiry and without the Madlanga Commission, what would we have done with that information? The country would have been much more divided. We would not have had a mechanism for coming to productive solutions about the way forward. and to have the conversation we're having about, well, let's forget about the fact that I made those comments, and for the moment about a specific person, General Mkhwanazi. It could be General X in the future. What do we expect in a situation like this? And I think that, as I say, it might turn out that General Mkhwanazi was a whistleblower. Whistleblower deserves public recognition and protection by the law.
Okay, Chair, kindly note that the follow-up question combined with the response has taken my 4 minutes. Minister, me and you agree that the task force is a unit that was established in terms of the legal protocols, correct? So it's a unit which is within the legal framework of SAPS.
As I understand it, it's not part of the structure and establishment at the moment. It's a task team which was set up pursuant to a political decision to deal with a specific problem of undefined duration. I think they didn't apparently make a decision, and they couldn't make a decision to say you'll only exist for 2 months. They had to set up a structure and a system to deal with the problem of political killings. I can't think of anything worse in a democracy when councillors, people who want to serve the public, are murdered. What kind of country is that? So we have to deal with this matter. Government did deal with it, and in fact, that structure now continues to exist. And I am pleased about that because, as I've said, I think it's necessary. And in fact, I think we needed to have bolder action because I see this as organized crime across the country.
Yeah. So, Minister, if the task force is a legal structure, whether it's a task team or a unit, which is within legally so the framework of SAPS, then why are you becoming worried while crime is rife in South Africa, when police are displaying their strength in front of cameras in uniform? Because the task force is one of the task teams which are well respected or which are feared by criminals. Now, when they go to cameras accompanying their commander in uniform, displaying the strength of the police, why are you worried? I really don't understand. What is it that precipitates your concern? Because there's nothing. I thought maybe you are going to come with something that we don't know. I thought you are going to say there is this piece of legislation, or there are these norms and standards which don't allow the commissioner to wear the task force uniform in cameras. So it's just your imagination and your general concern. You were just concerned as a citizen, but there is absolutely nothing in terms of the law that prohibits the commissioner from wearing a task force uniform with his team in front of cameras.
So I will repeat, I think in a normal situation, police officers in a disciplined police organization respect the authority structure. And where there are concerns, therefore, they raise that matter with their immediate superiors and so forth. That's how a policing structure works. Otherwise, there's a breakdown of discipline. And that discipline is essential for effective law enforcement. I also think, and we can disagree with this, about this matter, we can disagree, plainly appears we do. I think that the military and the police do not exercise political power in a democracy. So we've got to be careful about even the symbolism of an approach like that. For me, as a Democrat, wanting to protect the civilian space it was a concern when I saw it. The task force was effective, or it was doing its work before that press conference. Do you agree? So it can't be that the task, that the interview that was given was necessary for their work. That General Mkhwanazi intervened in the public domain because he felt that his options apparently were being exhausted. He had come before Parliament in March, he'd raised his issues, and there were obstacles to these matters being ventilated in the public domain. And you now have a situation where he has done so. I've watched, by the way, we've watched the Sahel. I've watched what's happened there. And I'm not in the position, I'm not unsympathetic to the changes that have occurred there, because it happens when democratic institutions fail, when the public loses confidence in democratic institutions. And I think that we must be careful about walking that route. Let's solve our problems this way, not by assuming that the solution is going to come from our generals, our solutions to political problems, because it's a political problem. If we talk about law enforcement, the issues are, in my view, they're about strengthening the capabilities of the police service, detective services, dealing with crime intelligence. That was not a solution to the problem of crime. He was intervening in the political space. And it might be that he felt, he must talk for himself, he might felt that he had no option. But that was a last resort. It's not something, I certainly do not, as the minister, want to encourage, and I will not encourage police officers to ignore the rank structures, the structures of discipline and decision-making within the police service. As simple as that.
Yeah, but Minister, we are speaking as if the general never attempted to raise things from within before he went to the media. I mean, he testified before all of us that he made attempts, he tried to reach out to the minister, and he lost confidence in the system. So we can't ignore that. Secondly, the second aspect that you are talking about of political power, that the police can't exercise political power. There is nothing that suggests that the press briefing on that day had anything to do with political power. It's concerns that were raised on the infiltration that is vast and intense within SAPS. So there's nothing that suggests that that has anything to do with political power. So I've been trying to establish nexus between your concerns and what transpired on the 6th of July. And unfortunately, I'm failing to connect the two. But because of time, let me move to another question, because
to deal with your issue, because with respect, I mean, did I not say that he had appeared in Parliament on the 5th of January and it raised his concerns, and that what might justify his decision was precisely that he felt that the important matters that needed to be ventilated in the public domain in exceptional circumstances, that he wasn't getting that hearing, those matters were not being ventilated. So on that matter, that one we are in agreement. So no reason to emphasize the point as if we are not in agreement. On the second matter, we don't agree. We don't agree. I think that there ought to be there's a separation, political powers exercised here by elected representatives. That's how our system should work. When it's not working, then people will take extraordinary measures, and that is a slippery slope. So what I'm saying is strengthen your democratic institutions so that it's not necessary. Fight corruption. Protect the integrity of your institutions. Then it won't be necessary for General Mkhwanazi to take the extraordinary steps that he did. And I'm saying to you, it might well turn out that he was completely justified. So in doing what he did. There too we can agree, can't we?
Okay. Now, let's move to another one, Minister. On the 29th of August, you issue a statement in which you were talking about the remarks that were made by the National Commissioner. And you came in subs because of an abnormal situation that was alleged to be prevalent. So you came in to rescue the situation as a minister. That is the summary of my thought. Now, the National Commissioner makes a remark, and then you engaged him through a statement. Without even, because a statement is not only addressed to the department, but is addressed to the whole world. So the first thing you do, without calling him to a meeting first, you issue a statement, you engage him through a statement so that everybody in the world can see that you are engaging each other in a manner that you are engaging each other. Now, do you think that was appropriate? Were you not maybe supposed to, since you were called to rescue the situation, to rise above, even if the commissioner was wrong, but to call him to a meeting and say, Commissioner, what are your concerns? Let's discuss here. I'm here to resolve all the concerns that you have. And then out of that initiative, you reach an amicable solution.
Honourable Member, thanks for the question. I assume that I assume that you've read my statement. But if you have read my statement, you have to consider why I am puzzled by the question. So, in the documents before you, my statement and the annexures, there's my letter of the 20th of August. In your preparation...
I've seen the letter.
Okay. Well, that's why I'm puzzled by your question. You say, I didn't meet him. My letter says, I have discussed this matter with you in 2 meetings. Do you see that?
Yes. Okay. No, I've seen the letter. You can speak.
Okay. So I did meet him.
Yes.
Okay. I say the second one occurred in the presence of the Provincial Commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. This matter has generated some public interest. I requested your opinion on the matter and asked for an update on how this matter was being handled, how it should be handled going forward, and I would appreciate your written response. This is after failing in our verbal communications to reach clarity. Please advise on when I can expect your response. I'm the Minister. I write to the National Commissioner on the 20th of August after having several engagements attempting to understand a matter of crucial importance to the public. I write to them on the 20th of August. I don't get the report. The General issues a public statement, wasn't a private statement, was a public statement covered in the media about what he has done with the dockets. What I had been told is that the task team had been disbanded and that the dockets were being redistributed. What he says publicly is that the dockets have been sent back to KwaZulu-Natal. And it now turns out from his testimony that he had taken the decision earlier. Now, I got his report sometime later, after he issued that public statement and after receiving my letter. Now, you might want to dwell on this matter. What did I then do? Yes, I issued that public statement. I'm the minister. I expect the commissioner to communicate properly with me and to answer questions, to respond to my requests, my lawful requests, if you want to put it that way, right? Now, after that, so I think perhaps, with respect, member, you are flogging a dead horse, because we met subsequently. We issued what is the statement on the 2nd of September was a joint statement. Statement is before you. What does that statement say? That statement said, we met together, we discussed our issues in a mature manner, we agreed that we have to treat each other with respect, respecting each other's roles, and that was the end of the matter. Yeah. So, you've asked me questions about what happened on the 6th of July, long before I was appointed, and you expressed some interest in my immediate responses as a private citizen, which of course I ventilated publicly, and which I do not withdraw. Yes. I've said so. And on this matter, in my statement, in the annexes, and in the questions, in the evidence that was led, I dealt with the matters that you are now returning to, and I clarified those matters.
Yeah, no, the reason why I was asking you about the events of the 6th of July is because you made a remark about them. So you invited the question. Now, two, I don't know what makes you to be convinced that I've not read your letter. I've read it and I understand what is entailed in your letter. The meeting that you talk about came after the fact. My concern here is on the 29th of August, where as a minister, you issued a letter. A statement. The letter that you issued on the 20th requests for a report from the commissioner on the status of the PKTT. And then you don't get that report. The national commissioner makes remarks, and then you reply to his remarks by a statement. And in your statement, you talk about a very sensitive issue, the issue of dockets, and that your expectation was that the dockets will go to the commission that was established by the president. Now, I'm saying to you, I never think I have not read anything. I've read everything here. So we're not going to collapse by trying to make me appear as a person who's not prepared. I'm well prepared for you here. Now, you write a statement. You talk about dockets, which is a very sensitive issue, which required you to call the National Commissioner in one office to say, National Commissioner, I've been called here to intervene as an acting minister. And you don't do that, you just issue a statement. So do you still think that was appropriate for you, Minister, to engage the National Commissioner through a statement on sensitive issues which relate to dockets?
Yes, you are allowed. You can respond.
Thank you. So I'm going to try once more. I had a series of engagements with the National Commissioner from the time of my appointment on the question whether the PKTT still exists, and if not, what had happened to the dockets. Why? Because the dockets contained evidence of ongoing investigations of assassinations. I and the public, and particularly the families of those who had been murdered, have an interest in the integrity of those investigations. I have reported that the commissioner informed me that while he didn't agree with the decision, the instruction he received from the Minister Nkunu, he had disestablished the PKTT and redistributed those dockets. Now, where were those dockets? Were they with General Sabia? Where were those dockets? I asked, where are those dockets? If you have, he told me, and it's in his statement as well, disestablished and then a phased reallocation of those dockets, eventually to end up with the murder and robbery squads. That's what he said. I'm the minister. I have a right to find out, to ask those questions and to get honest answers. When it came to a point on the 20th, and I say to him in a written communication now, because I believe in doing things in writing, but despite that, I still seem not to be able to clarify what happened. So I write to him, it's on the record before you. I write to him and I say, now I want a plan. I want you to tell me in writing what has happened with the PKTT and these dockets. By the way, a week later, I did get that report. So the commissioner understood that it was appropriate for him to give me the report I requested. The day after, I'd then come to the point where I thought I now have to state my concerns and my requests in writing. That public statement was made, which was contradicted what had been said to me, what had been communicated to me verbally. Now, you might consider that to be acceptable. It's not acceptable.
Okay,
Hang on, I'm not done. I'm not done. And then what did I do? I didn't allow that matter to become a seething point of discontent and division in the department. I met with him, we discussed the matter respectfully, and I issued with him a joint statement. We issued a joint statement. So there is no issue, as he himself has said, between the National Commission and I on this matter. The matter is closed.
Okay. No, it's fine. If you don't see anything wrong with engaging the National Commissioner through a statement, that's okay. Let me move to another question because of time. There's one aspect that I agree with you on in your statement, wherein you say that in your view there will be a need for the continued existence of the PKTT, considering the fact that there will be local government elections next year. I'm not quoting you verbatim, but is that what you are saying in your statement? Now, the minister here, when he was alluding to his reasons for the disbandment of the task team, spoke about the budgetary concerns that he had. Now, don't you have any budgetary concerns? I mean, if you continue to be a minister until next year, because we don't know when this thing of acting will end, maybe you will act until 2029. Now, if you continue to act maybe until next year towards the elections, then how are you going to address these budgetary concerns if really they are in existence? Chair, can I throw these questions so that I won't come back because of time? That is number one. No, but Chair, there's 4 minutes that was chowed by Skosana when he was asking a follow-up question. It means you were not paying attention.
The honorable member, your time is up.
No, but Chair, 4 minutes was taken by Skosana. I was counting for myself.
That is exactly what I'm saying. What time is it now?
No, but 4 minutes has not ended. How many chairs here? I'm talking to you, Chair. Then the last question, Minister. The last question is, during the course of your acting, have you received any complaints from members of the public about the PKTT, since we are saying it is still in existence now? Are there any complaints that you have received? Thank you very much.
Chair, proceed?
Yes, you can proceed.
Thanks, Chair. I indicated in my statement that I'm aware that there has been, in the public domain by the House, some criticism, but I have not received any complaints. And I have said in my statement that I think, from what I have been able to discern, there are practices that the PKTT implemented which we can learn from in the fight against organized crime. You are right that General Dimpane, who's the CFO, raised matters is within her responsibility about the on the finances of the PKTT.
Acting Minister, the time of the member is up. Honorable members, let's do this. You know, if we do not stick to the time that is allocated, we don't disrespect the chair. We disrespect other members with whom we serve in this committee. And the best we can do to show respect to another person is to respect time. Because it becomes very much unfair when another member has to speak and that member is restricted to time. When Honorable Nomvalo took the microphone, it was 2 minutes before 14 hours. And I said their time will expire at 14 hours 30. And then by 14 hours 34, the honorable member still insisted speaking. And I heard him very well when he said, Honorable Skosana has taken 4 minutes of his time. So the time we allocate, honorable members, we allocate it across all members. And the time allocated to a member includes responses from the witness. Honorable Nomvalo.
Chair, no, I want to make a proposal so that you have an accurate way of doing this. That you do what you did yesterday. You were taking follow-up questions after the member has finished his time, because this is creating a confusion when a person comes in between and then you don't count properly the time that he has taken. So my proposal is that let's continue with what you established yesterday so that there will be accuracy.
But you agree with me that your time has expired, isn't it?
No, it has not, Chair. It has not expired.
No, if you don't agree, I can still give you. How much time do you need? Just tell me how much more time do you need so that...
No.
So
there are other members, Chair, who want to ask. So I'm respecting that.
You have given the most appropriate answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, since you are giving, I can take 40 minutes. It's fine with me.
The time that was allocated was inclusive of Honorable Nomvalo and Honorable Shongwe. And it has expired. Now we must allocate time to the Democratic Alliance.
Chair, no, Chair. I think we are making a mistake. I started at 2 o'clock, Chair, unless there's something wrong with my watch here. But I started at 2 o'clock and I had prepared myself for 30 minutes. At 14 at 14:07, Skosana came in. He asked a follow-up question, which took 4 minutes, inclusive of his question and the responses thereto. And I stopped at 14:34. That's when you said to me, my time is up, Chair.
Before you started speaking, I told you that I'm allocating you 30 minutes. That
Yes.
includes the full member and the alternate.
As agreed yesterday, fine.
Yeah.
But my only worry is this: if there's a follow-up question,
You can decide how you use it. If there is a
Yeah, it's
follow-
fine.
If there is a follow-up question, I take what Honorable Nomvalo has said. I'm not going to note hands. I'll only take follow-ups once the member has finished questioning.
yeah, because the issue, Chair, I think when we had Minister Mkhwanazi and now Prof as well. Remember, the Prof is from VETS. When he responds, it took almost, as he said, one question took almost 3 minutes because I asked half a second and he responded in 3.5 minutes. So which it's chowing time from our side. And I guess from where I'm sitting, I'm changing my question, to something else, because otherwise he's going to answer me 4 questions and my time is gone. And I've got 15 to 20 questions which I have for him. Thank you, Chair.
The Prof has worked with students before. He hears what you are saying. Honorable Mathis.
Imagine that I don't get recognized anymore. Thank you, Chair. I had a follow-up question, but I also just wanted to speak to the issue of the time and the questions. You're really pulling out the iron whip on us, Chair, and I do understand sometimes we do fruitless questions or we go around. So we appreciate your intervention in that matter. But I think at the same time, it mustn't come at an expense of us getting answers that we require. And also, in terms of reference, we did discuss that each full member will get 30 minutes, and it excludes responses, and that's how we started. And I'm not saying we necessarily need to go back to that, and as the chairperson, but I'm just saying also be conscious of that, because we don't want us to rush through processes and not get answers or be able to ask questions that might not fall into the category of just being fruitless. Having said that, Chair, my follow-up question to the Prof. Hey, I must actually call you acting minister, because I think if we call you Prof, you're going to give us a long lecture, as Honorable Kosana is saying. On the docket, you said that that you thought the National Commissioner didn't follow proper processes. What informed that? How did you know that? Because you had just entered as an acting minister. Did you consult the legal department on what that process was?
For the question on member matters. And I apologize, Chair, for learning bad habits at the university. I do want to answer as fully as possible, and I'm ready to sit as long as needs be. But I will try and be a little briefer. I'm not sure, Honourable Member. No, I do not think the National Commissioner didn't follow proper processes.
Oh, okay.
So he as his testimony before this inquiry says, he got an instruction from the minister. I now think that he actually didn't agree. He didn't think it was the right decision. But because he's dealing with the minister and he's negotiating, he decides, well, look, let me give you advice. If you want to do this, I don't think you're right, but if you want to do it in a systematic, phased way, and then redistribute the dockets. And they then developed a plan to do that. So disestablishment plus a phased reallocation. And I want to then know, well, if that's what happened, where are the dockets? How are you ensuring safe custody? I mean, remember that this is a paper-based system. So the risk of tampering and so forth is real. I don't think he did anything wrong. But I do think that the initial engagements were a little bit cagey, and that led possibly to miscommunication, which then resulted in some public engagement, which was not optimal.
Oh, 2 days into your appointment.
No, not 2 days.
Acting Minister, I'm exaggerating. Let's talk a little bit about, you wanted those dockets to go to the commission, right? Just explain that process and whether or not was the commission even ready.
Honorable Martha, is that,
No, it's about the dockets, it's follow-up.
is there still a follow-up?
No, we even have a time on follow-up because it's about the dockets. Was that not a follow-up question that we spent quite a lot of time understanding about the dockets, the 121 dockets? Chair, it's proper follow-up about the dockets.
Okay, that is the last question.
Like, I'm very precise about that.
Yeah, that is the last question you are
Yeah,
asking.
they're all about the dockets.
Yeah, that is the last question you are
But
asking.
how is that unfair, Honourable?
follow-ups.
It's follow-up questions about dockets. If you don't have, it can't be my problem. So these dockets go, you want them to get to the commission. The commission at that point, from what we understand, hadn't even set a date. So how did you determine, or how did you know the state of readiness for the commission to receive those dockets? Ultimately, it didn't go, but there was some sort of instruction for dockets or copy of the dockets to go there. But more importantly, Acting Minister, were you sure, and was the National Commissioner sure, that those receiving those dockets had security clearance? Because there was some sensitive information on those dockets.
You mean whether the Madlanga Commission, they all had security clearance? Okay. Look, so what had been communicated to me is that disestablishment. Then there's a public statement which says they're going back to KwaZulu-Natal. So what's going on here? I'm asking myself that question. The Madlanga Commission had already been established with some hiccups, yes, but it has been established and it's within its terms of reference, the PKTT and the 121 dockets. So the question was then, going forward, the management of those dockets before the commission was an important question. And I suppose that was an additional question I was raising, because I think the integrity of the process before the commission has to be protected. It's a matter within its terms of reference. The National Commissioner agreed with me when I raised the matter with him, and he then promised that he will take instructions from the commission, and I think they agreed that they would get copies of the dockets. And we had to make sure as well that while the commission was sitting and dealing with the dockets, dealing with the PKTT, that the investigations continued. So, the fact that the dockets have been gone back to the KwaZulu-Natal is not an issue any longer, because then it was clarified that that's what we're going to do together. We agreed that needs to happen. But I was worried about the custody, and I was worried about the integrity of the commission, because this is a matter falling within its terms of reference.
Honorable Shongwe.
Thank you, Chair. Acting Minister, my follow-up question is regarding what the Honorable Nomvalo had asked you. I want to know that on the uniform that you had issues with, did you establish that that uniform worn by General Mkhwanazi, was it legal or not legal uniform?
No, I didn't, and that's a fair enough question. I'm not familiar with all the versions of military regalia and when they can be worn and when not. I now understand that he is as part of special ops. I suppose the question for me at the time was not whether, he was entitled to wear the uniform, but the image of someone who's dressed like a soldier that's how I see that, is appearing in public making the statements that he was. But I've explained that my response to that was a complex one. It was one that gave him also, I think, due credit. You know, I might mention to you, apart from issues around constitutionality and so forth, you will recall actually that in the liberation movement, this whole question of the relationship between the armed wing and the civilian leadership was always a live question. And we were very clear that the army was subject, that the political leadership, the elected political leadership was in charge. So we didn't have a tradition in our movement anyway, as I understand it, of militarism. It can happen in liberation movements, but we rejected that view. You know, my sensibilities go back a long way on this matter. But if the issue is, what is my attitude to General Mkhwanazi? You know, I've watched him. I've met him in private. I've watched him in public. I've met him in meetings. He is a well-trained, professional police officer who's in a position of leadership in the police service. And it looks to me like, you know, he's among the most impressive, at least as he presents himself in discussion. When he's appeared before you, when he's appeared before Malanga, he's got substance, he's got knowledge and expertise. So, but I cannot say that the issue that concerned me and which I raised is no longer a concern. I'm explaining why, and I stick by that.
So, njengoba ukhuluma into ongayazi, onje you speak English. So since you've established that what you spoke about you didn't know and you didn't understand,
Wonderful.
does that...
Please.
No, I withdraw.
Can
Chair.
you withdraw that?
Yeah, withdraw.
Thank you.
But it means the same thing in English. Since you spoke of something that you didn't know, in Zulu something ongayazi, would you take this opportunity maybe to apologize to General Mkhwanazi or clarify the matter in the public? Because it seemed as if you were saying is wearing the uniform that is illegal in the subs or it's not allowed. It gave that perception. Would you maybe take this opportunity to clarify that? No, when something that you don't know, it's the same thing. It's English and Zulu. He spoke of something that he didn't know. He said so. What is wrong with that? It's parliamentary. What is wrong with that? Why are you defending the minister? It made people think that General Mkhwanazi wearing a regalia, a military uniform is wrong. So that must be fixed. What is wrong with that?
Yeah, Honorable Shongwe, you may be justified, but please address the chairperson. Yes. Thank you.
So because of this statement, I don't know whether the minister got the question.
Minister, you may respond.
Thank you, Chair. So, you know, I don't ever pretend that I know everything. When I don't know something, it's no skin off my face to acknowledge that, because that's the way one learns. I'm not a repository of the truth. I don't have a monopoly of wisdom or expertise. So it's no problem for me to say I didn't know. Now, I never said that he was not entitled to wear that uniform. I never said so. I never said it was illegal. So I can't be requested to answer to answer a question that doesn't arise. I understand that why this matter is receiving the attention that it is. I noticed that much of the issues of content and substance in my statement are not the subject of this conversation, or the matters that are within the terms of reference of the inquiry committee. But I will say it again. I'm not. There's no need for me to apologize. About something that was not intended badly, that was no insult, and so I don't apologize. In fact, I believe that the issue that I raised was an important one. I shared my initial impressions with the public in an open way. That's what it means to have a public discourse. And if my comments have occasioned a public discourse, that's a good thing. General Mkhwanazi has not demanded an apology from me. If he wants to, if he believes that he needs an apology from me, I don't know if he needs you to act on his behalf. If he wants an apology, he knows how to engage with me. So that will be an entirely different context. The question doesn't even arise, respectfully, in my view, because there was no insult.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. May we